Shalom, welcome to Jerusalem. I would like to acknowledge and welcome you all folks, staff and students of Young Youth Judea, FZY, and year course, members of and representatives of the Israeli Scouts, Garin Atid, which some of you I know quite well, Masa, Taglit, Birthright, Hadassah, dear all friends. You know, year course is well known in Israel to be one of the most exciting, most important projects that the Jewish people and the Israeli people and us in Jerusalem are so proud. And for me, it was a well-known, important project. This year, through the personal experience, what Noam went through, and our whole family went through, and getting exposed to such amazing people, gave it a different meaning for me personally. I have to admit that I'm envy that at my time, there was no year course to a degree that I know today. And there's no doubt in my mind that if I had the opportunity at your age, I would probably do the same. The impact, what I've learned as to your personal contributions, each one of you separately and then all of you as a group, what you gave, and I believe also what you received, is second to no other experience I know throughout the experience your age. And also I could tell you that there's very direct correlation between people like yourselves that go to the Scouts, go to your course, and future leadership of the Jewish people, both in the business world, in the community, and the leadership of Israel. There's no doubt in my mind that here in the crowd, some of you are going to be future leaders of the Jewish people in any way, shape, or form you decide. May it be in your homeland, in your own countries, or here in Israel, in Jerusalem. You know that the investments in you and what you're leaving behind is an investment in the future of the Jewish people. And from my experience this year, there's no doubt in my mind that will pay off with very big dividends into the future. I want to share with you that we're living in very interesting times. Just the other week, 2 or 3 weeks ago, when we had Yom Yerushalayim, I shared with some of the people some of my feeling a few months ago when I went around to see the investments we're making in the Mount of Olives and in the whole area of the Kidron Valley. An investment that is directly investing in thousands and tens of thousands of Jewish graves overlooking the old city. And through that, I wanted to see how progress is made. I decided, I asked my friends to go to see where my father's grandfather is buried on the Mount of Olives. And I was standing on his grave, pinching myself. He died, he made Aliyah in 1924. And unfortunately, 2 years later, in 1926, he died and he was buried on the mountain, on Mount of Olives. Standing there, I said to myself, if he would have known that almost 90 years later, we would be standing there right next to his grave, with a country after the Holocaust, with a sovereign country, a united city, sitting there overviewing, looking at the cranes building the city of Jerusalem, he would never in his wildest dream, him and tens of thousands of other Jews buried on the Mount of Olives, they would have never dreamt that we'd be standing there, or standing here, speaking about the future of the Jewish people, the land of Israel, and Yerushalayim. And in many, many ways, I do think that we're living in a miracle. Ben Gurion once said that in Israel, if you don't believe in miracles, you're not a realist. And the reality is, if you think we're in a very tough neighborhood, Countries around us are sometimes falling apart. And through all this turmoil in the global world, seeing the North American economy a bit shaky, the European economy stuttering, and the Israeli economy very adaptive, growing at an amazing rate of about 4.5% growth from year to year, not dipping through the economy, stabilizing the country with very strong financial discipline and economic growth. Jerusalem has been growing 8% from year to year in the last 2 years, more than the national average, more than the international average. And when you look at how Israel in general is developing and strengthening itself and creating many, many opportunities, you pinch yourself that indeed we've overcome so many obstacles in our lives. And it has a lot to do with leadership, a lot to do with people believing in the future. And I want to share with you a little bit of more of the opportunities that we do have ahead of us here in Israel. And I'm speaking as somebody that spent 6 years in the paratroopers in the Israeli army as a company commander. And when I left the army, I went to study, I have my bachelor's degree in computer science. And many, many people think that investing time in the Israeli army or spending time in the Israeli army, not studying in the Hebrew University or in the university, we are delaying our personal future. That's not the case. When I finished my studying in the Hebrew University, graduating from having BSc, Bachelor's in Computer Science, and studying for my Master's in Business, what I've learned is that when we created some opportunities in high tech, we've learned that the Israeli experience in the army is second to none. When you take soldiers to war and come back, you learn to manage risk, to manage troops, to create group leadership. And it was very beneficial for my high-tech career here from Israel. Today, the fact that the world is flat, the globalization creates many, many opportunities for Israeli entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that live in Israel, that play the global market. And indeed, we see that Israeli high-tech, investments in high-tech in Israel is, after California and Massachusetts, peer with New York State, with Texas, and with Washington State. And in many ways, we have over $2 billion invested in high-tech every year by venture capital in the state of Israel. We are the second largest investments outbound from the US marketplace after Canada. And we have more public companies in NASDAQ than practically any other European country in the world, any other European country. And all that translates to many, many opportunities. Today, I also think that us Israelis are creating a network of relationships around the world that enable people that would like to feel at home here in Israel and in Jerusalem to become successful globally, but also to live and be part of the future state and the future city of Yerushalayim. Thank God, I can tell you that in the last 3 years, Jerusalem is going through a very extremely positive momentum in culture, in business, in economic growth, in the quality of the education system. And I want to send you off home with one very important message. Remember that this is really home. You're all shareholders of the city of Yerushalayim. We're just here managing it for you. We want to make sure that it be pleasant to bring friends, family, investors. Hopefully I saw some of you have already decided to make Aliyah, and like my wife, by the way, my wife, Beverly, her family made Aliyah when Beverly was 10. They came to Jerusalem, and ever since they're Jerusalemites, I believe very, very happy Jerusalemites, the whole family. And so I do believe that these opportunities that you've been exposed to are always here for you. I want to thank you on behalf of the people of Israel for your investments in our country. Take home memories and come back every year to see us here in Yerushalayim. God bless you. Thank you for all the supporters of making this happen. And what can I tell you? Toda Rabba.